3 fixes are working right now. Your blood sugar is lower, readings look better, your doctor is pleased. But underneath that, your insulin resistance is getting measurably worse with every passing week. These 3 interventions are the most trusted in metabolic health and the most quietly destructive when applied incorrectly. Today, we name all 3, the mechanism behind each, and what to do instead. Fix number 3, switching to artificial sweeteners. This one has the strongest short-term case of anything on this list. Replacing sugar with artificial sweeteners demonstrably lowers blood glucose. The mechanism is direct. You are removing glucose from your diet, so less glucose enters your bloodstream. Fasting readings improve. Post-meal spikes shrink. Your HbA1c moves in the right direction. For the first weeks and months, every measurable marker of blood sugar control gets better. That is not a marketing claim. It is accurate physiology. Here is what is happening simultaneously at a level your glucometer cannot detect. Artificial sweeteners, specifically saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame, pass through your small intestine largely unabsorbed and arrive in your large intestine intact, where your gut microbiome lives. These compounds do not belong in that environment. Your gut bacteria have no evolutionary framework for processing them. A landmark study published in Nature in 2014 demonstrated that mice given saccharin and sucralose for just 2 weeks developed significant gut microbiome disruption and measurably impaired glucose tolerance. Critically, when fecal matter from those mice was transplanted into germ-free mice that had never consumed sweeteners, the glucose intolerance transferred, confirming that the gut microbiome was the mechanism, not a side effect. A follow-up study published in Cell in 2022 involving 120 human participants across 6 weeks replicated this finding. Sucralose and saccharin both disrupted gut microbiome function and impaired glucose tolerance in a subset of participants, with the degree of disruption predictable from their pre-intervention microbiome profile. The glucose readings stay lower because the sugar is gone, but the underlying insulin signaling machinery, dependent on a functioning gut microbiome to produce the short-chain fatty acids that improve insulin receptor sensitivity, is being degraded at a rate that does not appear on any standard test until it is entrenched. Stevia and monk fruit show substantially less disruption in current research and are the safer swap while the science continues to develop. But if what you are sweetening your food with is silently damaging the system beneath your readings, fix number 2 is doing the same thing to a different system, and it is the intervention most aggressively prescribed for blood sugar control in overweight patients. Fix number 2, severe caloric restriction and crash dieting. The logic is airtight on paper. Excess body fat, particularly visceral fat, drives insulin resistance. Reducing caloric intake reduces body fat. Reducing body fat improves insulin sensitivity. This chain is real, well-established, and supported by decades of clinical evidence, and in the short term, it works exactly as described. A week into a very low-calorie diet, blood sugar drops measurably. A month in, fasting glucose is down, HbA1c is trending lower, and the patient believes the problem is being solved. Here is what is happening inside the body at the same time. When caloric intake drops below the threshold your body considers safe, typically below 800 to 1,000 kilocalories per day, your body interprets the deficit not as a dietary choice, but as a survival threat. Cortisol rises. Muscle protein becomes a fuel source through gluconeogenesis, the liver converting amino acids directly into glucose. A meta-analysis of 49 studies involving 4,785 participants found that people with type 2 diabetes undergoing very low-calorie diets lost an average of 2.88 kilograms of muscle mass alongside their fat loss. That muscle loss is not a cosmetic problem. Skeletal muscle is responsible for approximately 80% of post-meal glucose clearance. Every kilogram of muscle lost reduces your body's capacity to remove glucose from the bloodstream without insulin. The rebound effect compounds this further. A study published in Frontiers in Endocrinology found that after partial weight regain following caloric restriction, insulin resistance, adiposity, triglycerides, and adipokines all returned to pre-intervention levels or worse, while gluconeogenesis remained elevated, meaning the liver continued producing glucose from non-food sources even after the diet ended. The body that emerges from a crash diet is lighter on the scale and heavier in insulin demand, with less muscle to manage glucose and a liver still running the starvation protocol. The fix that worked for 3 months has created a metabolic environment that is harder to reverse than the one it replaced, and fix number 1 is the most counterintuitive of all, because it involves something your body does every day that looks on paper like the simplest possible way to avoid a blood sugar spike. Fix number 1. Skipping breakfast to avoid a morning glucose spike. This one is embedded in the logic of intermittent fasting, which has genuine and well-documented metabolic benefits when applied correctly. If you do not eat breakfast, you produce no post-breakfast glucose spike. Your morning readings stay clean. Your fasting window extends. On any given day, you skip breakfast, your blood sugar numbers from that morning will look measurably better than on a day you ate. The data supports the decision completely, if you only look at the morning numbers. Here is what happens to the rest of that day. A randomized clinical trial published in Diabetes Care tracked participants who fasted until noon against those who ate breakfast using continuous glucose monitors. The group that skipped breakfast experienced significantly increased post-lunch and post-dinner hyperglycemia the same day. Not the next day, that same day. The morning glucose spike they avoided was replaced by a larger combined spike across lunch and dinner. 24-hour glucose exposure was higher in the skipped breakfast group, despite, or rather because of, the clean morning reading. The mechanism runs through 2 pathways simultaneously. First, when you fast through the morning, your body's pancreatic insulin response loses its calibration for the day, a well-studied phenomenon called the first-phase insulin response. The rapid early release of insulin that blunts the initial glucose spike from a meal is weaker at lunch than it would have been at breakfast. The pancreatic clock expects stimulation in the morning. When it does not arrive, the system under-responds when food finally comes. Second, a study published in PMC found that skipping breakfast elevates free fatty acid levels significantly by lunchtime, higher than in those who had eaten breakfast. Free fatty acids at elevated concentrations disrupt insulin receptor signaling in skeletal muscle and liver directly, producing insulin resistance that compounds with every additional hour of fasting. Over time, as a daily habit, breakfast skipping does not produce the extended metabolic benefits associated with structured, time-restricted eating. It produces a pattern of daily compensatory hyperglycemia and chronic free fatty acid elevation that progressively impairs the insulin receptor system it was intended to protect. The morning reading looks controlled. The 24-hour metabolic picture does not. All 3 share the same flaw. They treat the number, not the system. Fix the system and the numbers follow. If this changed how you think about blood sugar management, subscribe. More coming soon. Subscribe, like, comment. Which fix surprised you most?